Today on For the Record.
I think it's important to realize that we're part of the fabric of Pittsburgh because there's a need in Pittsburgh. There always will be.
The new CEO of Holy Family Institute on how the organization helps so many Pittsburghers.
Why can't we be the organization that helps prevent harm?
And what's ahead for the future of Holy Family Institute.
My appointment is more of a sign of the times in the United States.
Plus, you'll want to stay tuned till the end of the show for a special For the Record announcement. For the Record starts now. Welcome to For the Record. I'm Michelle Wright. Today we meet the new CEO of Holy Family Institute, which is based in Emsworth, Allegheny County. The organization estimates it helps 40,000 local families and children every year. And now it has a new leader, Michael Sexauer, filling the shoes famously held by Sister Linda Yakowski, who you've seen interviewed many times over the years here on WTAE Channel 4. Now let's turn to my interview with the new CEO. And we want to welcome Michael Sexauer, the new CEO of Holy Family Institute. Congratulations on your new position.
Thank you. I've been there 10 years, but it still feels like a change.
And you are unique when it comes to Holy Family Institute in this position, because before we've known nuns who have had the role of priests, and you are the first non-nun or priest to hold the role.
I am, and there's a little bit of weight that goes with that, of course, but we've been in Emsworth. Holy Family Institute has been there for 125 years, and since its founding, it was either a priest or a nun as executive director or CEO, whatever the title may have been, as it's changed throughout the years. But this is really, my appointment is more of a sign of the times in the United States, especially around religious communities, and how hard it is to find priests and nuns to be called to religious life and lead that life in service to others. And so this actually, Holy Family Institute, is the last sponsored ministry of the Sisters of the Holy Family of Nazareth to appoint a lay leader. There's a university, a high school, and a grade school in Philadelphia that are run by the same order of nuns. They've all now replaced the sisters with lay people because they have to. It's a way to continue their ministry in the United States. And they know they can only do that by appointing folks that have the, I guess, the skill and the will to go forward with it.
Are you planning any changes?
Well, planning changes is a bit of an oxymoron because change always happens, and the organization has been changing for 125 years. For the first 80 years, it was a residential program first, with a real concentration on Polish orphan children or children who were in homes where maybe dad was killed on the job or went to war and mom couldn't care for all the children. So they weren't traditionally orphans in that sense, but they were children who needed to be cared for. And so for the first several decades, that's what they did in Emsworth. They cared for local children who needed that type of support. But that type of support also became very expensive, and it became harder to provide those services as the sisters realized that their own numbers were diminishing and they were hiring people from the community to help care for the children. They started to fundraise so that they could keep the organization healthy. But then they also started to diversify their services. So rather than just housing children on the campus, they started working with the county, Allegheny County, to provide things like in-home family services with case managers. They started mental health programs. They started to offer other services that were a way to work with children who needed help before they were harmed. And so one of the sisters asked the question decades ago, why are we only the ambulance? Why are we only the organization taking children away from harm? Why can't we be the organization that helps prevent harm? So they started working with the county to develop programs to go into homes and help families stay together rather than be separated because of an incident or a tragedy.
So you're planning to continue that mission, and anything else we should be looking for?
Well, we have 11 different community programs now. We have a daycare program that we took over from the sisters earlier this year, Mount Nazareth Learning Center. We started a high school 10 years ago, Nazareth Prep. The unique thing about Nazareth Prep, even though it is considered an independent Catholic school, we serve children of all faiths. And the children, or the students, I should say, they are high school students, they do an internship 1 day a week as part of their curriculum. It's a way for the students we serve and their families to explore career opportunities that they may not necessarily be exposed to. The students that we serve typically come from some of the more challenging communities, not all of them, but we do have a lot of students from the North Side, from the Hill District, from other areas. It's an application-based school, no different than any other private Catholic school or a private school in Pittsburgh. But again, the unique thing about it is that we partner with corporations to provide an internship experience all 4 years of high school. That school was established on our campus in Emsworth 10 years ago. And along with that, we have a school that we've been operating for over 30 years that is focused on children with social and emotional behavior disorders that need to be addressed, help them change those behaviors so they can go back to their home school district. That is something that we've been offering for, as I said, a number of years. Right now, we have a school building for that in Ross Township, separate from our Emsworth property. Our biggest program right now is a partnership with Duquesne Light. We've been doing this for over 25 years, helping people qualify for assistance. If you are a Duquesne Light customer, you're having trouble paying your bill, you get a notice from Duquesne Light that you are in arrears. You need to contact them to apply for assistance, see if you qualify. Once you call Duquesne Light, they refer the customer to us, or Catholic Charities. They also have an office. And we help almost 40,000 families a year just through that program, local families qualify and apply for assistance for their utilities. And as you can imagine, if someone's having trouble paying their electric bill, they're probably also having trouble paying the gas bill, maybe the phone bill, the rent, may need access to food. And so the counselors that work in that program, and we have 5 offices around Allegheny and Beaver counties, the counselors are trained to help people access other resources that they may qualify for. So it's a wonderful program. As I said, it's been going on for over 25 years. We're working with Duquesne Light to continue it, and we're looking forward to that going forward. We have programs that are focused on other education challenges, children who are acting out as young as 5 years old. How do we address those behaviors, change the behaviors so they don't lead to bigger problems later in life? And we have a program that's focused on truancy issues, children that are not showing up for school, that are referred to us by the county to help. It's not about addressing truancy, it's about addressing what the cause of that truancy is. And oftentimes it's family supports that are not in place. So we have over 300 employees working in, as I said, Beaver and Allegheny County, from Beaver Falls to McKeesport.
So you're doing a little bit of everything to help the community. Why would you say that Pittsburghers should care so much about what you're doing, whether they're impacted directly or not?
Boy, that's a great question, and I think it's in any community, big or small, my hometown of Erie, or even in Clarion where I went to college, there are people with need. You don't always recognize them, that they have need. It could be your neighbor, but you may not know that your neighbor's having trouble paying the electric bill. You may not know that your neighbor is struggling with a mental health problem that's leading to your child not getting to school. There's no way to know. People are often very private, and they, as I said, they may be our neighbors. Why should people care? I think this is, it's been a challenge forever, and I think it will always continue to be a challenge where you have people that have a need. Typically not through any fault of their own, but that need help getting through life, even just with the basics. It's always going to be a need.
Still ahead on For the Record, more on how Holy Family Institute works to help Pittsburghers amid funding concerns for some of the programs they turn to. Welcome back to For the Record. Let's turn back now to my interview with Holy Family Institute's new CEO, Michael Sexauer, and more on how his organization works to help Pittsburghers. I read that you want to expand the wraparound services. Can you explain a little bit about what that exactly means?
I think what you're referring to is a program that we're working on right now to provide wraparound services for high school graduates that need help launching their career. And specifically, we're looking at the crafts and the trades because it's a huge need, not just in Pittsburgh, but for decades we've been pushing kids to college. Neither of my parents went to college, and it was a dream of theirs for their 4 children to go to college, and we all did, but that's not always the best path for everyone. And frankly, we need plumbers and electricians and carpenters, and you name it. We need those skilled individuals. But sometimes, especially right after high school graduation, a young person may not know what they want to do, or if they do know and they want to become a carpenter's or apprentice, or they want to join a trade union, sometimes the basic challenge is transportation, or it might just be someone there to get them out of bed in the morning and someone to encourage them along their path. So we have housing resources on our campus. We're talking to various organizations, Partner for Work and others, about creating a program that will provide a supportive living arrangement for those who want to go to work and become a carpenter, but they can't get to the job site because public transportation doesn't go there, and then the job site changes and you need somebody to get you up in the morning and have dinner ready before you go to class in the evening. So we're exploring this possibility of creating a program that would provide those supports for the 18 to 24-year-old individuals who are pursuing what they feel is their path, but they need a little bit of support along the way. So that we've gotten wonderful support from the community and feedback from these organizations that it's a much needed service. And if you can imagine even trying to bring young people from outside of Pittsburgh who don't know Pittsburgh and may be a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of a big city, but if we could provide a caring and nurturing and supportive environment on what looks like a small college campus in Emsworth to individuals with need, why wouldn't we do it? And why that would help the community as well, because when people go to work, the community thrives.
So much of your focus is on young people, children. How are you connected with the children? For people watching who may know someone in need or maybe in need themselves, how do they find you? Who connects you?
It depends on the program. As I mentioned with Duquesne Light, the referrals come from Duquesne Light itself. A lot of the truancy issues are identified by the county, and the county refers the family to us. With our specialized learning school, with children with social emotional behaviors, they're referred by their school district. So if your child is in a public school system or even a private school and you think they need a little bit more support, first you really have to talk to the school officials. Is there a resource for your child that they can't provide in the school? The other programs, Nazareth Prep is an application program, routine as any other private school. So our website is up, nazarethprep.org. It's easy to find. There's not a lot of opportunity for self-referral for what we do. And I say that only because the channels by which we're funded and the activities that we provide are very focused, and they're individuals that are, I guess the best way to say it is sort of pre-qualified when they come to us in terms of needing what we provide. And if it's something we can't provide, we may refer them to another agency like Family Links or Presley Ridge. We work very well with all of those organizations. We have cooperative agreements. So even if you come to us and ask for help and it's not something we can provide, we typically know where to get help. So
you mentioned funding, and I want to ask you a little bit more about that.
Sure.
Where do you get funding from?
Well, thankfully, we have a pretty diverse funding stream. We do get county dollars, state dollars, private money, foundation money for the high school. The students pay tuition at the high school. The special education school or the specialized learning school, the money comes from the districts themselves. We apply for and receive county funds for some of the programs that we mentioned, and Duquesne Light funds our customer assistance program. So thankfully, we're not dependent on any one source for funding. We do, and we have received federal money in the past to help with immigration needs as they've come and gone throughout the years. It started 10 years ago when there was a earthquake in Haiti. People may remember that, now 15 years ago. And a number of children were brought first to Children's Hospital, and then Children's Hospital called Sister Linda and asked if we had beds, and we did. And so the children were able to come stay at Holy Family Institute for a while. So it's very reflective of the history of the organization, as I said, founded in 1900 as the Polish Orphanage in Pittsburgh. And they've been helping children in need, families in need ever since, whether they're from the United States or not. And so we'll continue that mission, whatever it might look like in the future. And the future is really based on need. So the program that I discussed about providing wraparound services is based on the very plain fact that we need skilled tradespeople, skilled craftsmen in Pittsburgh. But the obstacles are simple if we can just address them early on to help these young people move along with what they think is their best pathway.
With the political environment as it is now regarding funding, are you worried at all about what the future might look like with some uncertainty?
We are. I mean, I think that the smartest thing we can do is tap into our resources and plan for the worst and hope for the best. I think a lot of organizations do that. So, for example, with the Duquesne Light program, one of the things that we do is help people qualify for LIHEAP, the Low Income Heating Assistance Program. It is being threatened by the current administration in Washington. We're hoping that we can continue to provide those services, but again, we'll have to adjust if those services are no longer available. So how do we help the people that still need help with their heat? Right? We'll have to address that when it comes along. So in February, we got all of our board members together and we said, okay, let's assume that our funding streams change. Short term, long term, how do we handle it? What do we plan for? We have this beautiful campus. We have other buildings that we own in the community and places that we rent. What can we do with those to continue the mission of the Sisters in Pittsburgh? And we came up with dozens of wonderful ideas and things that we could explore, all focused on the Pittsburgh community and what the Pittsburgh community needs. And it was very, very encouraging for me as an emerging leader in the organization. We will have to change. The organization has always been changing. There was a fire in 1984 that eliminated the main building on campus where the children were living. They went through a discernment process to decide, do we need to keep the campus? Do we need to be more in the community? And they decided to rebuild and go into the community. They rebuilt these wonderful homes on the campus that we are talking about for this support program. And they've had a number of times throughout their history where they've had these inflection points where we have to decide, what do we do next? We're going to stay relevant, but how? And that's where I think we are. It's a resilient organization. I'm proud to be part of it.
Still ahead, big shoes to fill. What Holy Family Institute's new CEO is saying about taking the post that was held by a woman all of Pittsburgh has come to know. Welcome back to For the Record. For the last part of my sit down with Holy Family Institute's new CEO, Michael Sexauer, I asked him about his predecessor, someone all of Pittsburgh has come to know, Sister Linda Jankowski. We have to bring up Sister Linda.
We do.
As you bring all this up.
Right.
She's great. We've interviewed her through the years. She was there a long time. You are replacing her. Big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I'm not sure replacing her is the right word, but I'm certainly, I've got a great team to help. But yeah, she was named the Executive Director CEO in 1988 and been there a long time, and she's not really leaving. She is going to be what we call the Director of Mission Integration. In other words, she's the representative from the sisters to the organization and other organizations in Pennsylvania to help make sure that what we're doing reflects the mission and ministry of the sisters in our work. She lives near campus, she's not moving, she'll still be a presence for us and for the senior leadership, and certainly a source of inspiration as she represents the sisters in the Pittsburgh area.
And as Sexauer reflects on the past with Sister Linda's leadership, he's also looking ahead to the future now that he has the top post at Holy Family Institute.
I think we'll be making hopefully positive headlines in the coming years, but Pittsburgh is going to need services like we provide and others like us, as I mentioned, Presley Ridge and Family Links. There's a need for those services. There always will be. And I think it's important to realize that we're part of the fabric of Pittsburgh because there's a need in Pittsburgh. There always will be.
And keep it here for a special For the Record announcement coming up in just 2 minutes. Welcome back to For the Record, and we want to let you know our show is on the move. Starting next week, For the Record will begin airing at 11 a.m. right after ABC's This Week. And we're kicking off the new time slot with an exciting half hour all about the road to Ireland. We're gearing up for the Steelers' big matchup with the Vikings in the Emerald Isle coming up in late September by speaking with Steelers President Art Rooney, as well as the head of Pittsburgh's Irish Festival, who tells me their partnership with the Steelers is one of the many things to be excited about at this year's festival.
They're going to be setting up a 40-yard dash and doing some giveaways with their specialty Ireland game logo. So there's going to be a lot of fun and excitement to expect from them at the festival itself, and then that'll just be the kickoff. So that's one of the big new things we're excited about this year.
It is a must-watch episode of For the Record as we take a look at the road to Ireland. See it at our new time next Sunday morning at 11 o'clock right here on WTAE Channel 4. That's all for this week's show. Have a good week. I'll see you next Sunday morning at 11.